It is now being live streamed. Oh, mixed messages here. All right, let's get started. Perfect. Welcome, everyone, to another session of Following Our Passions with the Lynn Academy. We are a group of people around the world who have been fortunate enough to be trained by Denise Lynn or trained by those she has trained. For those unfamiliar with the Lynn Academy is a school of various kind of alternative modalities, if you will, from feng shui to space clearing to clutter clearing to oracle card reading, dream gateway interpretation, past lives, so many different aspects, but all of them have in common kind of the core foundation of Denise Lynn and her kind of her energy, her love for, really empowering people to understand that within them they have the answers, right? One of the things she often says is the soul loves the truth, and this is really, it's a key driver for soul coaching, which is one of her courses. Sorry if you can hear my dog in the background there. She's just an amazing force for good. I've said it before, I'll say it again, and just an amazing person. And we were all fortunate to learn from her the various ways to work with energy within us and around us and through the world. So she has created the Lynn Academy. We are fortunate. I'm fortunate to be a graduate of the school myself, and I have with me Felicia Messina, who is an amazing teacher, and she's going to be talking to us today about clutter clearing and the journey that can take us on, right? That's the spiritual journey that we go through as we do clear our clutter. So I want to tell you a little bit about Felicia before I pass the baton to her. So Felicia is an interior alignment, feng shui, and space clearing master teacher and soul coaching trainer. She's an award-winning educator and contributing author of several best-selling books. As a child, Felicia had an interest in changing her environment, moving furniture, and changing the colors and artwork in her room. This continuing passion, combined with Felicia's advanced studies in art history, and education, led her through revelations about her own journeys of discovery and to her current mission of supporting people to clear the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual blockages from their lives. While she's completed numerous certification courses over the past 20 years, mostly with Denise, Felicia finds that she is always drawn back to clutter clearing as a foundational step in any transformational or healing process. And she knows that it works. Having experienced 3 cancer diagnoses, she's confident that the skills she has learned in all of her studies have supported her in healing. She lives in south of Washington, D.C. with her husband and 4 children. So with that, Felicia, welcome. So glad to have you join us and really feel fortunate to call you friend and also to have you on the program today. So welcome.
Thank you, Bill. It's great to be here with you today.
Thank you. So I know that you're going to be talking to us today about clutter clearing and really the power of that for people in their lives and the journey that it can take us through. Can you tell us a little bit about, what got you first interested in clutter clearing and even the Lynn Academy? How did your journey begin?
Wow. Well, my journey began I was at a retreat, and I had been feeling like there was something, there's something in my life I should be doing. I didn't know what it was. I went to a retreat, and the facilitator encouraged everybody to make a list of all the things that we like to do, all the things we're passionate about. And she said, you'll figure it out what it is that you're supposed to do after you have this list. And I didn't believe her because I had this list that had things on it like art history, interior design, photography, but it also had like yoga, astrology, oracle cards. Like it had all these things. I'm like, how are these things related? But after a couple of Google searches, I kept coming across the Denise's Interior Alignment School. And I was like, oh, what's this? And then I talked to several of the teachers, and then I met Luann, who's a fabulous teacher. And not only did the curriculum include everything that I had on my list, but in the training, Luann included things like yoga and movement, and it was like a perfect gel of like everything that was on that list I made. So that's how I first was introduced to the school. And then once I took one class, I went from there to soul coaching, to the Oracle card class, to the gateway dreaming and the clutter, like everything. And I find that it's all like, in the essence, it's all about our energy and how our relationship with our own energy and with the relationship to the energy of our environment.
Yeah, I mean, it's so powerful, right? And once you make that connection, I mean, you have a whole new perspective on things all around you.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
in your work with your clients, with your students, with just yourself and clutter clearing, tell us a little bit about kind of what you mean when you say that it's kind of a spiritual journey. How do those?
If we start with the premise that, you know, our internal landscape creates our outer landscape, our environment is very closely related to what's going on in our mental, emotional, and spiritual selves. And so unconsciously, whether consciously or not, the environments that we create, the environments that we choose, are a reflection of what's going on inside. And so I find that particularly with clutter clearing, when we start to examine the physical aspects of our homes and these things that, you know, we invite these things into our home. What is the relationship between, you know, the person and the objects, and how is that a reflection of the inner self?
Mm-hmm. So, you know, one of the things and kind of the purposes of, you know, this program and the sessions that we've been having is helping people connect with their passion, helping them see our passions. So how did clutter clearing support you in kind of following your passion, and how can it support others, do you think?
So for me, there were several times that I could definitely point to clutter clearing as a catalyst for change. For me, there have been times when I've done clutter clearing and then gotten new job offers, or I guess most recently, although now it's a couple years ago, we were the last time we sold our house, it felt like the house was on the market for a really long time. And we were doing all the, you know, we buried the St. Joseph statue in the yard and set our intentions.
Right.
And we did a lot of things, feng shui in the house. But I realized that my parents had passed and we sold their house. And a lot of the things I brought from the house, I still had in the basement of our house. And so I realized that energy was kind of keeping, especially because it was in the basement, it was like keeping us grounded in that house.
Yep.
And so once I did the clutter clearing in the basement, the house sold like within a month.
That's fantastic. That's a great
Yeah.
success story. And so for those who may not be as familiar with clutter clearing, or think of it as just, you know, I've got a pile here and a pile there, help people understand kind of what really is clutter.
So clutter is, it could be a lot of things. So things that you don't use, things that but it could also be things that are broken that you're keeping, unfinished projects. It could also be, well, that's physical clutter. So you can also have other types of clutter, like if your to-do list is too long or if your calendar is too full. But a lot of times, if you look at the clutter, you can think about how it's keeping you tied to the past or tied to, you know, a certain aspect of yourself that no longer aligns with you. For example, if you changed careers and you still have all the mementos or books or tools of your former career in the house, and you feel like you can't move forward, it's like the energy of that stuff is keeping you in the past.
Mm.
There are a lot of times that we're changing every day. You go to a workshop, you learn new things, you have new experiences, you are evolving as a person every day, and your energy is changing every day. So the things that maybe you brought into your house in the past just are no longer aligned with how you see yourself or how you feel that you'll be moving into your future.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. So if you have, so let's say someone is walking through their home and they know they have clutter, but they don't really know what the clutter is, right? What would you recommend they do as they kind of just journey through their own home to really figure out, well, not only what the clutter is, but why it's clutter for them?
Mhm. One thing that, well, there's a couple of things you can do.
Sure.
Um, One is to take pictures of the rooms in your house, because a
Mhm.
lot of times we're so used to the environment that everything kind of blends into the background. So if you
Mm.
take a picture and look at the picture, a lot of times you see things that you didn't see when you're just like in the space.
Yeah, I love that.
Another thing I recommend people do is pretend you're going window shopping in your house
Oh.
and just kind of, come through the front door and kind of
Mhm.
walk through each room and, just ask yourself, like, is the me of today aligned with this object? Does this object make my energy go up or does it make my
Mm.
energy go down?
Mm.
Do I even remember why I bought I brought this into my home?
Mm.
Um, a lot of times when we come up against resistance
Mm.
to releasing things, that's when we can go into maybe thinking more about what is this reminding me of, or what's the pull of this object, or why am I so attached to it, that where you can go into like, what else are you resistant to changing in your life? Or what are the deeper blockages that you might be still holding on to that are keeping you from moving forward?
Mm. Yeah, it's so powerful, right? Once we make that connection. And I love the idea of taking a photo because it really is, you live it, right? You live in it. So it's hard to even be aware of things. And window shopping, that's a great idea. So once people have an idea, like, okay, this is clutter, and I know I need to do something with it, but I may not be ready to let it go, or who do I give this to, or is that even an okay thing to do? What do you recommend people do to actually then remove clutter or make that change?
Mm. So the one suggestion is something that, I think we all learned from Denise, is that having the box, that the things that we're not quite sure of,
Mm.
putting them in the box, sealing the box, and putting like an expiration date on there. And so if you don't need anything in the box, you probably don't even remember what's in the box. So once the date comes, you just get rid of it. But there are, great thing about social media and, being on the net is there are a lot of groups where people will love to have your stuff.
Mm.
There are groups called Buy Nothing on
Mm.
Facebook, where you
Okay.
can just post a picture of what you'd like to release. And, usually within minutes, there's somebody because they're all local groups.
Sure.
Usually within minutes, somebody will say, oh, I want it. And then you just arrange for them to come pick it up.
Mm.
There's also like the free cycle groups.
Mhm.
There's a lot of donation places that'll come and pick up your stuff. You can also sell it, but sometimes I find that just the whole process of, putting it up for sale and negotiating and all that, I'll just get rid of
Yeah.
it. Because you think about how much time do you want to spend, getting rid of stuff.
Right. Absolutely. So you mentioned too that there's physical clutter and then there's other kinds of clutter. Can you talk a little bit more about kind of that other kind of clutter, that mental clutter or whatever digital clutter, whatever that clutter is, just so people get a little sense of kind of what that really is?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I feel like all the non-physical clutter,
Mhm.
eventually it'll manifest as physical clutter. But the mental clutter could be things like, what do you spend your time thinking about? Do you get wrapped up in negative thought patterns?
Mm.
Or do you like, is your to-do list too long? Do you have so many things going on that there's no time to be still and be present? So really, I think, a lot of times the mental clutter goes back to what's preventing you from being present in the moment. And it could be old ideas. It could be that, that calendar and to-do list. It could be, maybe you have like this stack of books next to your nightstand that you're like, I have to read these. I have to read these. Like all those thoughts of what you should, the should thing, what you should do, and, things that you're obligated to do. Is like, really think about what are you taking care of in your life? Are you taking care of yourself, and what's preventing you from doing that? The emotional clutter could be things that, emotions that you haven't processed and released, maybe guilt or regrets. If you've had a relationship that ended badly, maybe you're kind of still holding on to some of the angst. A lot of the emotional work can be processed through like forgiveness work and self-forgiveness, and just, realizing that these things, they don't just disappear. It's like they need to be processed through and journeyed through and released.
Amazing. Yeah, and apologies for the dog in the background if you can hear her. She's
Oh, it's not that loud.
okay, good. Good. So you talked too about this being a spiritual journey, and pretty transformative. And so how can people kind of connect with that aspect of themselves? I mean, people I think can understand physical and even the mental and even the emotional kind of clutter, but how does that all lead to kind of this spiritual journey? What is that? How do you associate those two for people?
Yeah, for me, it's starting with we are all divine beings.
Mm.
And in order to like connect with our divinity and connect with, the God of your understanding, if you are bogged down in all the physical stuff around you, like when is there time for you to be still and connect with that essence or with that spirituality? So I feel like that's one aspect. And then if we look at ourselves, like we are energy, our environment is made of energy, and our environment is a direct like manifestation of our inner energy. So what we think and how we feel is reflected in our environment. It's like a 3D vision board of our life.
I love that.
And so in order to kind of move forward in our, I don't know, I'm gonna say like to be our best selves or to be all that we're meant to be, and follow through with our passions and connecting with our divine self, it's necessary to kind of clear the space. So like being still on like all levels. And so I feel like when we go through the process of clutter clearing, we're kind of clearing away those outer levels of maybe misunderstanding or patterns that we're not aware of. And when we clear away like all of the outer shell, we can get to like the essence or the truth of who we really are, like within.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And so I think that people have with that understanding, right? What a powerful kind of impact, even, clearing something small out of your home, whether it's a small drawer or those sorts of things. So I guess, in terms of getting started, would you recommend people start small, or where should people start when they focus on clutter clearing?
I always recommend that the room that they start with is the bedroom, because the bedroom represents our like innermost self.
Mm.
But as in terms of like process, I always recommend that people first focus on like, what is the vision for your life? How do you see yourself, in 5, 10 years? And what is it that you want to experience? Do you want to experience more love in your life, or more joy, or whatever it is? And kind of create that mental, emotional picture first, then create an intention. So, I'm clearing clutter in order to create more joy in my life, or experience more joy in my life, or more love in my life. And then I think that makes it a little easier to go through the process, because you can, looking at the objects, like, does this bring more joy, or does this bring more love into my life? Or is this bringing me to where, the vision I have of myself? And the things, some things will jump out as like, oh no, this is definitely not in alignment. And those things can go first. I like to do clutter clearing in kind of a systematic way, where I'll go clockwise around a room, and just go through things. Or I'll do like a floor a month or a room a month, or however, in kind of a systematic way. I'll even make like a little floor plan and like cross out the the rooms.
Oh, I love that. And so one of the things that I've we've been doing, actually, because we're getting ready for empty nesting. We're in that stage. And so we've just found that we've been getting rid of a lot of clutter. And what I have found is that we'll get rid of clutter, and like we worked in the bedroom and we got a lot of changes there, and in the closet and all that good stuff. But then over the course of the next week or so, I am much more emotional than typically, and I'm already an emotional guy. So it's just it's very interesting to me that even though I didn't go through that kind of deep introspective work when I was doing the clutter clearing, I'm just like, no, we need to make this our space now. It clearly had a much bigger impact on me than I realized. That I was feeling this. It was even hard to describe, but just I was just kind of really emotional. And and my wife goes, yeah, no, we've been clutter clearing. That's why. I'm like, well, of course. But so for people who might feel that same kind of reaction after they make even small changes, what would you say to them?
Well, first, that's normal. And just like, we are energetically used to and attached to like our environment, even when we don't realize it. So removing things shifts all the energy around you. And it shifts the way that you respond to the environment. So it's normal for things to like come up. And that's another way of releasing. So, whatever comes up is meant to come up for release. So think of it as a I'm going to say positive aspect, maybe unexpected, but definitely positive aspect. And another way that you're clutter clearing like the internal energy and internal emotions.
Love that. Well, surprisingly, we've got only about 5 minutes left. So I'm just gonna check to see if we have questions. We've got a few people have joined us. Judy has joined us and says hello, and says that she really appreciates hearing about this. It's coming at the perfect time. We have Beverly Edwards. Hello, Beverly. Hello, Beth. Yeah, it's so no real questions at this point, but people are clearly enjoying the topic. So and it's such a broad topic. I know there's so much more to it that we haven't been able to touch on. So if people are looking to learn more about clutter clearing, or more about you, or take a class, do you have if you have anything coming up, what's the best way to reach you? What are is there any courses, things that are coming up?
So the best way, the best way to reach me. So my website address is www.feliciadehady.com.
Mm.
And that's there's no apostrophe in there.
Mm.
My Facebook page is Soul Transformations, and people could always send me a message there or a message on my regular Facebook page.
Mm.
I'm in the process of creating a online class right now about clutter clearing and feng shui for abundance.
Mm.
So I'm hoping that will be finished by the fall. And if anybody's interested in, just talking or getting coaching, just reach out to me and we can talk. And I will be teaching the interior alignment certification classes and soul coaching certification classes. So they can look on my website for that or just reach out, because if there's no dates on the website, we could always arrange private training too.
Mm. Yeah, I love that too, because those one-on-one courses can be so powerful too, right? Because they have that experience for sure. So
Definitely.
all right, let me just love this topic so much from Beth. So that's just another comment there. So I guess one thing that one thing I just wanted to ask your opinion on, so that, there's a lot of people who talk about this idea of hoarding, and, hoarding and clutter clearing are different, or kind of gathering clutter. Do you have any kind of thoughts or kind of like how you might describe the difference between someone who's a hoarder versus someone who's got a bunch of clutter they need to clear?
So generally, hoarding requires the support of a psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
I was getting psychologist, psychiatrist, because they're like deeper neurological issues and deeper emotional issues that that clutter clearing cannot resolve.
Mm-hmm.
And so it would be like clutter clearing is more when you might be resistant to giving some things away, but it's not going to cause great trauma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's more of a willing holding on and maybe not something that you can't process completely.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And because I don't want people to kind of go down the path of, oh, my uncle or cousin or whomever, is hoarding, and I'm just going to go over there and help them clutter clear. And that's just a deeper issue. So
it's much deeper.
Yeah. Well, this has been a fantastic time. Thank you so much, Felicia, for sharing all your wisdom and your knowledge and insights about clutter clearing and the power that it can have to transform us on our journey in this life. So it's been so nice. For those who are watching later, feel free to drop questions into the comments, and we'll get to those as best we can. And of course, if you want to reach out to Felicia, go to her website, please. Soul Transformations is your Facebook page.
Is my Facebook page, yes.
And it's Felicia Messina, Felicia de Haiti is your website, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, sorry. And maybe we can put that in the comments too, from this, just to remind folks of where they can reach you, because there's so much that you have to share. So, well, thank you for being with us. Yeah, absolutely. And thank everybody for joining us. We're having a couple more of these sessions in June, so looking forward to those as well. And please follow your passion, because why not? If not now, when, right? And this is the time when it's so important for us to connect with what brings us joy, like Felicia bringing us joy today. So thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.